presentation. So the next presentation is by LIGO.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for the presentation. By LIGO-India, and they're going to Vaibhav Savant from the Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics in India. And it's the presentation is co-chaired by Samir Dhurde. So he's going to share about education and public outreach efforts. LIGO-India is an upcoming advanced gravitational wave observatory to be located in India as a part of the worldwide network. So welcome, Vaibhav. Looking forward for your presentation. You might want to put your video on.
Okay, thanks, Kathan, and very warm welcome to everybody. It's great to talk to you here. Just before we get started, can everyone see me and hear me? Can you just acknowledge?
Yes, very well.
Great, fantastic. So I'm part of LIGO-India's education and public outreach team, and we are going to talk about all the outreach efforts that we've been taking since we started about 3 years ago. So the LIGO-India Observatory, as you know, it's coming up in India. It's an upcoming gravitational wave observatory. There are already 2 LIGOs in the US, and this is the 3rd one that is coming up in India. And LIGO stands for the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory. And as you can see in the picture, you have this an artist concept view of how it would look like once it's completed in India. And you can see 2 long arms here, which are 4 kilometers in length. There's a laser that's fired inside it. If you want to know more about the observatory, I would suggest you go on to our website, ligo-india.in, and get to know more about it there. So the kind of place India is, as most of us know, it's a land of contrasts. And so also is the LIGO-India site, which you can see here in the slide. So you have the summer months where you have the site is completely yellow and golden yellow, and then in the monsoons it's completely transformed into a green heaven, as you can see here. So the same way in India, as you know, there's a lot of divide between the people that we reach out to. There's a lot of diversity, the backgrounds they come from, the rural background, as you can see. There are people walking who have to get to the school. They have to cross a river every day just to get to the school, and the classroom is very easily, it's just under a tree on the ground. Whereas in the rural environment, we have a very different environment at play. So similarly, we have to take care of all these things. The LIGO-India Observatory, by necessity, it is placed in a location which is away from populated areas, from developed areas. And the pictures that you see here in the top are actually from the LIGO-India site, where we carry out our education and public outreach activities as well. So the first activity that I will talk about is an online lecture series which we call GW at Home with LIGO-India. So this is the first live online lecture series for gravitational wave science that was conducted. We started on the 1st of April. So this is right after the lockdown began in late March this year. And this was a part of the lockdown activities that we have conducted. So it covered a varied field of gravitational wave topics, like the science involved, the detectors themselves, the engineering that goes into these extremely high precision advanced observatories, and the research and development in them. And they are of different levels for different audience that we have out there. So we have talks right from basic to intermediate to the advanced levels. And people can benefit from them. So this was the first series. We also had another series that is currently running, and we have the last lecture of the series tomorrow, which is going to be fantastic. It's at 4 p.m. Indian Standard Time. I invite you to come and join us there on our YouTube channel for LIGO-India. All the details are there on our Facebook and other social media as well. So the other activity which we conducted jointly with AYUKA, so our team was involved with AYUKA's special online workshop that was conducted specifically for teachers and secondary school teachers in the Maharashtra state where this observatory is coming up. So the Maharashtra board 8th to 10th grade is what we were targeting at, and teachers who are teaching science, mathematics and geography. So you can see here in the slide, the workshop is in progress. We use Zoom, just like we are using now to conduct this. The medium of instruction was in Marathi, which is the local language used in the state of Maharashtra. And there were plenty of activities, hands-on activities that teachers got to learn from this, and they can now take this forward to their students and conduct the same activities with them. So we reached about 1,000 teachers overall, and 500 of the teachers were actually from around the LIGO-India site, which we are extremely happy about. So you see our team's smiling faces here at the end of the sessions. The other major activity that was conducted, which carried on for 1 year, was the Vikkyan Samagam Mega Science Exhibition. So this exhibition was conducted in the 4 metros in India. It started in Mumbai, and at each location, it stayed for 2 months. So we operated in a caravan mode, wherein you had the exhibition set up in a large hall that you see here, the panorama. You can see the poster panels. There were 7 mega science projects in which India is participating, India is contributing towards, that had taken part in this mega science exhibition. And it started from March last year and continued up to March 2020. And it started off in Mumbai. We stayed there for 2 months. Then it moved on to Bangalore, then Kolkata, and then we finally ended it in New Delhi. So the exhibition consisted of 10 poster panels, large 2 by 1 meter poster panels, which gave information about the projects, about the science that they do, how they do it, and what are the opportunities for people who want to get involved in the project. And there was also an info display there, which kept playing documentaries and other interesting facts and trivia, which were put out there for our viewers, for our visitors. And we also had a few demos there, about which we will talk later again. So the demos consisted of working demos, which you can see here, family of all age groups, 2 generations here smiling their way. Our working demos never fail to impress people. So, and then we had a static LIGO model, which you can see here. This is a 3D printed model of how the observatory looks like, what the major components of the observatory are. And this is not to scale, of course. Since each arm is 4 kilometers in length, it wouldn't show up properly here if we made it to scale. And the working demos is what we would be talking about now, are the Michelson Interferometer, on which principle the observatory works on the principle of Michelson interferometry, or laser interferometry. That's how it gets its name, Laser Interferometer Gravitational-Wave Observatory, LIGO. So this picture that you see here is extremely simple to set up Michelson Interferometer, which was procured from NICEF. You can check more details about it on their website. I have this QR code as well. It has a laser pointer at one end, and everything that you see in front of you are absolutely simple to use. Anybody can set it up. It's quite cheap. It's not very expensive. The spare parts, most of them are replaceable easily. Like you have a laser pointer, then you have a lens, then you have this reflecting mirror, a partially coated mirror. So part of the beam goes straight through, bounces off this mirror and comes back. The other half of the beam gets reflected onto this side, and then there's a mirror here. It reflects off, comes back. You have interference, and then you see this beautiful fringe of the interference pattern, the fringes that are formed. And you have another picture here of the fringe as well. So extremely easy to use, very simple. You can just carry it around anywhere, very portable as well. Very happy with this. The fringes are a fantastic way of getting people introduced to how interferometry is done. And then we had the advanced interferometer, which, as you can see here, it's called the LIGO in your hands. This was developed by the University of Glasgow students. You can see the setup here, which seem to have lost my cursor for some reason. Let's see if it gets it back. Okay, it doesn't. So the interferometer that you see in front of you, the top picture on the left, is that of LIGO in your hands. Apart from having all the components that an interferometer should have, like we saw earlier, it also has a touchscreen display, which you can very nicely control the I/O devices that are available on this interferometer. So instead of looking directly at the fringes, we have a camera which records the fringes, and it can play them back on the display, the touchscreen display. It can do a lot of other things as well. We cannot go into all the details because of paucity of time. So it also has a photodiode which can record the intensity of the fringes as they're moving along. There's a piezoelectric crystal that is mounted onto one of the mirrors to move the mirror back and forth as you need it. And that actually helps you explain also how the interferometer, the actual interferometer, locks. So for example, if you tap on the optical bench there that you see in front of you where the components are mounted, you'll see that the fringes move around in the camera on the display. But then if you lock the interferometer, which means that if you ask the piezoelectric crystal to compensate for any changes in the flexing of the optical bench, you are essentially establishing a lock such that the fringes don't move even though the mirrors are. So you can display this technique here as well. There's a very nice demonstration video which is made by the developers of this advanced interferometer. You can check it there with the QR code that's there on the left hand side bottom corner there. Just move on to the Black Hole Master, which is it's a fantastic, very addictive game, an arcade game which can be played between two people. This was also developed by the Laser Labs community, which is the Laser Labs, which is a community interest company, as it's called. So it doesn't do work for profit, but it works for community game. And you can see that we've been trying out all these initiatives that people have developed, all the things the gravitational wave community all across the world has developed for education and public outreach. We had a fantastic time with it while we were traveling with the exhibition Vikkyan Samagam, and we found that they were extremely successful with people. So see a throng of kids here trying to get to the game to try their hand at it, and a very animated game in progress on the bottom right screen there. So you control two black holes in this game, and the idea is to play ping pong, but instead of the usual bats that you have to push the ball along into the other person's court, you have a black hole which doesn't push but which attracts everything towards itself. So you move your black hole around with the joystick and you position it such that a star comes around, slingshot it into the opponent's court, and then you score a point if it goes past his boundary line. So it's very easy to use, it's very easy to play, and very educational as well, is what we found out. You can teach students, even young kids, primary kids, very difficult concepts like Kepler's third law, the stable orbit of Kepler. You can explain it using these games. And then we also tried our hand at virtual reality. So we have an app called as SciVR, which you can download freely from, it's there for Apple as well as Android. And we tried out with the Google Daydream View headsets, very fancy headsets with the remote control, which you can use to point to the objects when you're looking out into three-dimensional space in virtual reality. And the app that we used, the mode for it, there's a very nice GW demo that has been set up in the SciVR app itself. So you can go to it, you can view this in VR mode when you're using the app, or you can just have a cell phone and look around using the normal mode, which you use sometimes for watching 360 YouTube videos and so on. And the information there is very impressively done. So I would say just go and try it out. You can see what the GW sources are, and then how they come to how the gravitational waves travel and finally come to the interferometer, and how they affect the interferometer, and how you get to detect a gravitational wave using this interference. So a very, very immersive experience using these VR headsets. We are also engaged in making up a pop-up comic book for kids. Particularly, we are targeting primary school kids, and this is made in, again, the local language Marathi, and it tells a story of two young kids, Leela and Gopu, who talk about gravitational waves and the coming of LIGO observatory in their neighborhood. And then they go about looking for gravitational wave sources and how to visit inside the observatory and how it goes. So very interesting read. So this is in the making now. And what's upcoming? So there's plenty coming out still. We are not done yet. So we are going to launch a comic strip which will come out regularly on our social media. We'll be starting out with podcasts. We'll start a forum as well where you can ask questions and get answers from scientists and gravitational wave researchers. We'll also be having a regular quiz. So visit us at our website www.ligo-india.in to know more about it, and you can also follow us on our social media. We are there on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you want to get involved, we'll be very happy to connect with you. And if you have any initiatives that you would like to move forward, we would be happy to look at those as well. You can connect to us on LIGO-India-outreach at AYUKA.in. So thank you very much. And I'm very happy to be here. And thanks, Kathan, and the GHOU community as well for giving us this opportunity to speak. It's fantastic. Thanks.
Thanks, Vaibhav. It was a wonderful presentation, and these are some quite interesting hands-on activities also. Like you tried to combine the virtual reality and comic books. So there was a quite interesting range of activities. It was like there are many people who are doing one kind of activities, but these were completely different. So that was quite interesting to see. There are not much questions. There's some nice comments for you. You might want to go in the chat box and see through it. Just a question from my side. When is the observatory coming up?
So we expect it to be constructed by about 25-26. That's the projected date at the moment.
That's wonderful. That's good to hear about that. Thanks for the wonderful presentation again, Vaibhav. So I'll be going to the next presentation.